Fabric Gems Boutique is a video podcast where we celebrate the art of quilting. Each episode will be packed with inspiring guests from every corner of the quilting world, sharing their best gems of knowledge, creativity, and passion. Whether you're a seasoned quilter or just getting started, there's something here for everyone to help you create your own gem. Discover the hidden gems of quilting. And now, get ready for Fabric Gems Boutique with your host, Chris O'Connor. Hey everyone, I am Chris O'Connor with Fabric Gems Boutique, and we are in January of 2025. This year is going to be a year full of new podcasts, new friends, and new things that you may want to learn about the quilting, fabric, what's happening, what's going on. So my very first guest is Sarah.
That's me.
Yeah, Sarah Nelson. Hey. And she's going to tell you a little bit about who she is and where she's coming from. She is a great rep. I love my reps. I can't tell you. We have connected so well today. She's amazing.
The best.
Amazing.
Like, hands down, the best.
But let me introduce you to Miss Sarah Nelson and tell us where you are and who you're from and what you do and all that kind of good stuff.
Oh goodness, that could get to like be super existential.
Okay, cliff notes.
That I don't know that I can do that either. I took my ADHD medicine today, and that makes me really. I talk a lot. So I am a fabric rep, which as you know. I didn't start out as a fabric rep, but I did because my mom was a fabric rep when I was 6. And so because she was a fabric rep, I grew up in it. I grew up basically taking, and I tell this to everybody. So if you've heard this before, then you've probably talked to me before, but I grew up taking naps under the table of fabric samples.
Oh, that's so cool.
In the Dallas Apparel Mart, which is one of them. Now, I want to say I have been to like smaller markets with mom before, or like small regional ones, kind of like they used to do way back then, but I could be wrong. I could just be remembering the Apparel Mart. So like I know, I think it was 8th grade, I did a school project, and I used, the school project was to make a book. And so it was my freshman year. And so for the cover of the book, my mom, one of the companies she used to represent was Covington, and they did tapestries. And so the cover of my book was made from a fabric sample from Covington. And
wow, that's pretty cool, isn't it?
It's just weird, but I mean, I've been around fabric samples for a very, very, very long time. And I say that because I'm 44. So like 1986 was maybe my mom's foray into the fabric world. She used to make custom kids clothing. And so I grew up even from, she made clothes for my sister and I that were matching, that we hated.
Me too. Like my grandmother and my mom and my both grandmothers sewed. Right?
Oh, nice.
And so my grandma Averbeck, she made and tailored men's suits. Like, yeah.
She was fancy.
She was that good. Now, I never learned that. I never wanted to learn that because it was too much work with the chalk and the lines and the this and the that. And it's an art. It's a true art.
It is that. It is beautiful. If you can go to that skill, to me, that's like couture.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Well, my other grandmother and my mom, they worked, my mother worked for Stretch and Sew. Many of you might have heard of that, but that was a very northern thing. It was when knit fabrics were the thing. It was before your time. So that was probably...
I remember when knit fabrics were a thing. Do you remember that store in the mall, Units?
Yeah.
Where it was all knits and you could like combine outfits. Yes. And it was like tubes that would be a skirt or a dress or...
Yes.
That was knits a long time ago.
Yeah. And so when I was in high school, well, really earlier than that, probably junior high and high school, my mother was the manager of this store and she sewed everything. I hated it. I hated wearing handmade sewn clothes. Like there was no tomorrow.
There was nothing more embarrassing.
My prom dresses were all made by my mother. Now, I'm going to say, I'm sorry, Mom. But if I look back, I was like the fashion.
You probably were.
Yeah. My grandmother used to make me these beautiful dresses with bonnets.
Perfectly fitting clothes where nobody else did.
I did. And I hated it so much. I look back now and I think, wow.
What the hell is I
Like
thinking?
people were looking at me like I was like something pretty cool when I really didn't think I was. So I get that. Wearing everything. I mean, it was like I was so excited the day my mom said, let's go buy you some new clothes. We get to go to the store, Mom? We get to go buy new clothes? Yes. I mean, that was like heaven to me because everything else was made.
Yeah. No, I'm pretty sure that once we started having opinions, then at that point, like, there were no more handmade clothes. She got away with it when we were little and she had complete control. But it was, and I feel the same way. Like I wish as a kid that I had, like, instead of just being annoyed by it all, I had gotten into it myself. Cause then at that point I would have learned how to do stuff that I'm just now trying to learn how to do. And I'm kicking myself for not learning. So like all you youngins out there, do your future self a favor and learn now. Yeah. That's all.
It's such a great tool to have in your toolbox. I always like called toolboxes, right? And when you have the right tools to use, the right sewing machine, the tools, everything, it makes it so much easier to put together, whether it's decorative fabric, whether it's curtains, whether it's clothing, it doesn't matter what it is, right? Yeah. It just your toolbox is really important. 100%. And I can't sew a straight line, just so you know.
Most people can't.
Yeah. So don't be a perfectionist. Just have fun with it.
I don't know that there's really such a thing as a straight line. Like existentially, I firmly believe even like the rulers and the mats that are, everything might be, just because there's always a degree, right? You could have a perfectly straight stitched line, but it might not be, one stitch might be a little bit I don't know. And I think that's overrated. Yeah. And I've learned that if I oversew multiple times, even if I have multiple crickets lines, then they all form kind of what it looks like it's supposed to look like that. And it's, it's helpful.
Yeah. And the other thing is, I do a lot of homemade gifts and I do give them to a lot of my tailgate friends and recently I did a lot of mud rugs and I printed on the fabric the logo of the tailgate.
Oh, cute.
I'll have to show you one. And then I put their names on them and printed and sewed them and it was a simple little gift.
Yeah.
Treasure those because they put their heart and soul in it for you. So tell me more about
sales repping. Yeah, because I kind of started off in a weird direction. So 1986, Mom started, she was repping for Benartex and she was selling, at that point, Benartex made wedding fabrics. So satins and like organza and silks and lace, obviously. And then, her life evolved and when her and my stepdad married, my stepdad has been in the retail business from the get-go. I mean, David, who really is as much my dad as he is my stepdad, is just 50 years in the business. Like,
he's seen some stuff.
I mean, he's seen, well, they both have, come to think of it, they both have. But anyway, so I grew up in the business, but I was going to be an actress, obviously. So I went to school for theater and had a wonderful time flunking out of my first year of college. And then I got married, had a baby, and then I was in the automotive world for about 11 years. And there's some parallels there that are really weird, which I'll get to. But and then I want to say 2021, just after COVID, I really wanted to do something. I can't say different because I grew up in it, but it just felt like maybe a direction I could really enjoy. And so that's when before that, I was kind of doing back end stuff for my parents, reports and like MailChimp campaigns and things like that, but jumped into repping in November of 2021, and then kind of just from there then started cheating. I call people, I tell, when somebody asks me what this job is like, I say I'm cheating, because I literally just, I go quilt store to quilt store, and I sit in quilt stores and I hang out all day with owners who are pretty much friends now. And it's hard to, it's don't get me wrong, it is not an easy job or career, but it's like
rewarding,
so much so inspiring. You just see some incredible things. Right now we rep for about 7 lines, and our territories vary, but for the most part, we're a family business. So my dad, of course, who's been in the business for 50 years, is still in the business. My brother Corey, me, my David's twin brother Donnie, he's in Georgia. Carol, David's sister, my aunt, she's up in, like, I think Missouri and Nebraska and Kansas, and so it's almost like a family dynasty at this point, which, you know, we're in the fabric. It's a very tiny niche family dynasty.
But I don't think that, at least I didn't really realize how big the industry really truly is.
It's huge.
I
don't think we treat it like it's the size that it is.
No,
I don't think anybody does.
No, I mean, so I build websites and I do things like this, and I fix websites and so on and so forth. And I was working for a client and here locally, and she told me when I first came in, because this is a new world to me. This is quilting, and sewing's not new to me, but quilting is new to me. And I have a friend who gave me a business with all this fabric here, and I sell it on Etsy. And so I needed to learn more about the quilting world, and that's kind of how Sarah and I got together.
Shannon Fabrics.
But this individual that I was helping clean up their website and get better websites and so on and so forth, she had told me at one point that, which mind blows me, and I don't know if you agree with this, but that the quilting industry is larger than the NFL.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that.
It just really, really, it really blew my mind, because I'm a huge football fan. I mean, huge, like huge. Okay. And so much so that a friend gave me a Green Bay Packers signed by Charles Woodson, Hall of Famer, signed by Brett Favre, Hall of Famer, signed by Jordan Love, I am a huge football fan.
You are.
Okay.
Yes.
So it blew my mind when she said that. I said, there's no way. There's just no way.
No, totally there is.
And so
if you think about it, I mean, you've got quilt and fabric.
Kept secret.
Well, kind of. I think that what isn't being considered is the amount of community and the number of people. Because I think that, you know, NFL is very like top level sports guys, money, and then you've got all the fans and all that stuff. Not to, like, I'm not trying to, it's just a totally different type of structure.
What you're saying.
And quilting, sewing, overall, everything is global. So and I, you know, I mean, there are quite a few manufacturers in Europe that, you know, in probably, well, I mean, I say clothing manufacturers and I get, you know, there's, you know, South Korea, China, a lot of factories and mills that do specifically production for fabric sold in the US. But there are also those companies overseas in the same countries in Europe. And it's kind of wild. If you really start to dig into it. And it probably also depends on if you're talking about fabric kind of and textiles overall, or if you're talking specifically about the quilting industry, because that's, I would say, one facet of it.
Yeah, there's definitely little niches within the big
I mean, you've got interior decorating, you've got garment fabrics, you've got, and then you've got all the trends that kind of come and go. I mean, gauze was a big trend for a while.
Yes.
Minky is not, I don't think Minky's a trend, but it's a totally different type of fabric. that is used in quilting and other things. So,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I can totally believe it.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, seven-ish companies. Sometimes, well, I don't, where do you want me to go from this?
Okay,
like,
so we're at the beginning of 2025,
Yeah.
and you know the new colors come out, right? I mean, the color of the year. Sherwin-Williams always does the color of the year.
Robin
So
Kaufman does Pantone.
okay, so do they follow the same like paint colors for walls, or do
I
they,
don't know.
you know, what kind of trends are you seeing or looking? I mean,
Neutrals is the big,
I understand browns are coming
like,
this
it's,
year.
yeah,
Is that
grays are now not quite, they're not supposed to be as much of a
centerpiece?
yeah, or a leader.
Mm-hmm.
It's like more, you know, warmer tones, I think, are coming into play where they didn't used to be.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like neutrals are starting to have more of a visible place in quilting and our designs and clothing overall. I don't think color is going away on any level. I think there are too many people out there that love it too much.
Well, why would it? I mean, a quilt, it's all about the color, right?
Right.
And it doesn't matter if it's traditional, you know, with the diamond squares, whatever you want to, you know, use,
Yeah.
or the modern. I mean, modern has some of the most beautiful, bright,
Oh yeah,
gorgeous quilts.
And modern itself has expanded to become such a incredible variation of looks and styles and you know, artistic techniques, and I mean that alone is pretty cool too.
Well, so many of the homes today are built modern style, right? With the clean lines and the whites and the blacks and the grays, and you know, it's very and so you need to put a little bit of color in there somewhere.
Right.
So they use I'm told, the accessories.
Well, so the thinking, and this is, I guess, like the royal they. I mean, that is like the royal we. They're cousins of the royal they.
Right.
But it's they are saying that because they're seeing a lot of neutrals in interior decorating,
Mm-hmm.
that quilting and clothing always follow, and that's why they're saying neutrals are becoming more and more of a thing. And I will say I've seen more collections in the last year or so that are really more either strictly neutral or mostly neutral with like a really muted variation of it's like sage tones or pinkish brownish tones that are like almost color but not quite. And you know, I think there's a place for that, and I think for sure we're going to see more of it, and I think that more and more is going to be beautiful. I don't ever think that it's going to dominate. You know, and I, you know, could be totally eating my words in a year. I don't know. We'll see how this video and this conversation ages.
I mean, you never know. I mean, things change so rapidly, and you know, people's likes and dislikes change rapidly. And you know, of course, we've had AI that's entered into this world
that is completely radically changing the game daily. It's nuts.
I mean, it is absolutely daily. So, and you know, the designers. I mean, you know the designers. Some of them probably.
There's I'll call out Beverly from Flamingo Toes. I call her a friend. She's wonderful. I've gotten to know, yes, a few designers here and there. I've had a lot of conversations with a lot of designers that are just very like high level, like Heather Bailey at Market. I walked up to Heather Bailey and I was like, Heather Bailey. And she jumped and she dropped her chocolate. And she promised that the dropping of the chocolate was just a coincidence in line with me very loudly saying, Heather Bailey. But I love her. And I have bags made out of local honey. I have like True Kisses. I've made gifts out of that. I'm just a Wild Abandon from last year. The peacocks is just gorgeous, and I'm just a giant fan. And that's literally what I do as I walk up. I'm like, I love you. I'm going to be really creepy for a second because I think you're amazing, and thank you for doing what you do. And then, I like to fangirl without hovering. So then at that point, I try to, I don't know. I don't want to be weird, but at the same time, like I also had a really, really great conversation with Heather about struggling to decide when to promote her fabrics. Is she going to promote them when stores are ordering her fabrics, or is she going to promote them when her fabric is in the stores and the consumers are out to buy? Is there a feasible way to do both? Because, what she's designing now for something that may come out in the next year is different than what she's, there's all these different in the entire, I would say the entire like chain of production and supply, start to finish, from the point that a designer designs a fabric to the point where a consumer can buy it in the store. I mean, there are dates, there are deadlines, there are preparations, there are like 8 or 9 different companies that change hands and that take on pieces of the product. Like, it's crazy. What all goes into simply something going from one place to another.
I can't even imagine being an artist, because an artist, they come up with this plan and this idea and this beautiful, 5 fabric collection. Let's just say, I know it's more than that. Sometimes it's less, but let's just say they have 5-piece collection.
Sometimes it's like
right?
52.
Well, I know it's a lot, but I'm just trying to simplify things. Yeah. Like, how do you come up? Okay, 52 different drawings, right? And how do you you have to plan like a year ahead. Like, you live a year in advance. A lot of times, by the time it comes from fruition to the drawings to sending it off, and then they say, no, you can't do this, you got to fix that, and you have to adjust your drawings and how it's going to print on fabric. Then they take it through the fabric process, right? And they print one part of the print, is what I've learned, at a time, and they
that's screen printing.
Okay.
So there's multiple. There's screen printing, there's digital printing, and then boutiques are, a incredible way of producing fabric that is pretty indigenous to Indonesia, and some incredible artisans there. The screen printing that you're talking about is where a company, depending on just literally the print, sometimes it could be 7 different screens with a few colors. Sometimes it could be 15 different screens with different colors and patterns. There's a whole other sideline part of that process where you have to create the screens, you have to choose the colors, you have to make the color. And then, the difference between screen printing, let's say like a lithograph or a t-shirt at home with a homemade thing that there are, I think, a few sites out there, some YouTube videos that'll even show you how to do it, versus the screen printing in a mill that literally has automated this just a rolling line that just will, the screen goes in the ink, screen prints on the fabric, screen goes in and it's a whole assembly line where it's just one piece of the print after another. It's fascinating. And then the types of screens, you've got a flat screen, but then you can also get a rolling screen or a drum. If you're going to do, I think, like printed wide backs maybe, or just like a more of like the larger scale prints. And there's so much more that goes into that. And then digital is all really pretty much feeding fabric on a roll through a machine and it coming out printed on the other side, which, I want to say, gosh, when did I remember Mom coming home with one of the very first, one of the companies that she repped was thinking about bringing on digitally printed knits for the first time. And they were struggling to figure out, because as the knits were being fed through the machine, because of the stretch in the knit, you would get these little creases, and then it would print. And then the fabric would get caught up, and then when it comes out of the machine, it's got like a little white gap where it didn't get printed on because the fabric got like this is like 90s. It was crazy. And now, I mean, you've got companies like Spoonflower where anybody that pretty much, and I'm going to say this, I'm really talking about something I don't know a whole lot about because I have not tried to like upload designs or print in Spoonflower, but I'm pretty sure like if you are somebody that can go onto a computer and create a print that will tile the way it's supposed to, I mean, you can immediately like go to Spoonflower, upload and print out 10 yards if you want. And that is unreal when you think about it.
I recently like discovered them and I was like, ooh, I'd love to have you guys on my podcast because I'm just so curious on anybody can be a designer today. I mean, literally anybody, and you can upload it to them and then they print it for you. And it can be not only fabric, but it can be
on demand. It can be t-shirts,
wallpaper,
mugs.
It's amazing what they can do.
Mouse pads.
This is not a I don't know anything about them. I just recently been
playing around
dabbling with them. And but it's amazing what they can do, and they're out of North Carolina.
Oh, well, that's cool. I didn't know that. That's a little piece of trivia.
Yeah.
I would love to be a service designer. I don't know. I love making things so much that I don't really have time to. I say that I probably could make time, but I spend it at my sewing machine. Instead of
a lot of us do that.
But it's what's amazing too is going on Spoonflower and looking at patterns that have been uploaded that people can just then say, oh, I like that, and they'll print 10 yards of it because the artist has allowed Spoonflower to put it on their website.
Yeah.
And I think some designers out there have sort of that background where that's where they started out. What's really cool though is thinking about designers in general. There are so many that have completely different backgrounds. You have ones that are quilters that started first with a quilt shop and then writing quilt patterns, and then surface design like came down quite a ways later. And then you've got this is going to date me a little bit, but back in like the early aughts, I managed the scrapbook store, and my favorite brand was Basic Gray, and they now design fabric for Moda, which like blows. Like I have so much scrapbook stuff that I have saved. I have Basic Gray paper in my cabinet at this moment that I still have not wanted to cut up and use because it's so pretty. And it's sort of wild. My Mind's Eye with Riley Blake, same idea. So, and then I know that there are designers out there that have always been surface and fabric designers that have now gone into print. You look at Rifle Paper Company that started with print and then went to fabric. Like it's really even wild to think about what all the designers do and what their backgrounds are. And basically what happens is a company will send out a call and say, we're looking for prints that have horses. And if they have that designer, I guess, in their Rolodex or whatever, their little black book. I don't know exactly how the call happens, if it's a thing that's posted or what, but then artists will send in prints, and if the company sees something they like, they'll pick it up. And at that point, if it's an artist that they've already worked with, maybe they already have a contract in place, but and that's, I guess, sort of how like Lori Holt is exclusively with Riley Blake. Like that's how that happens. But it's at least, look, I'm trying to think about one of the companies I rep. They had their January release finalized, I think, in November, which means they were starting to plan it probably over the summer. Because they need time to, and then so to plan it would start with a design call. So, I mean, basically it sounds like the designers maybe are even working a year ahead of the fabric release, or not the fabric release, but the design release, or the collection release. And by that's when I, as the rep, get the cards. And then I go to a quilt store and sit down with the owner and say, hey, these are what are shipping in July. So right now, January's release, for instance, most companies are showing anywhere from July 2025 delivery to the store to October or November. It's wild how far ahead of everything everyone does. If the designers are creating fabric a year ahead for a company to put them on storyboards or on fabric, some companies have fabric samples too, and that goes out. I mean, it's
quite the process.
It really is.
I mean, I've learned, and I don't know it 100%, but I've learned it's quite the process. So me as a store owner, of course, mine is online. How do I choose, right? I'm telling you, it is the hardest thing to do. So if you're shopping in somebody's store and you're wondering why don't they have, it's because one, they obviously have a budget. Two, they're going on experience maybe of what has sold in the past, or the designers that they're accustomed to having and you're accustomed to be purchasing, or they're, I hate to say it, but guessing.
Well, I mean,
in a way. But that's what Sarah's for. She's there to guide you.
So, well, I don't.
In a way.
I don't like. I say that, yes, because I obviously love what I do, so I love the stuff I see. So when I'm showing a store owner, oh my God, you have to see Heather Bailey's latest collection. I'm excited about it, and I want every store to buy it because I love it. Now, not every store is going to buy it because not every store, carries an aesthetic that at least in my territory. So I work mostly in North Texas and Oklahoma, like North Central Oklahoma. I got into talking about our territories before, and then I went all past Oklahoma and Louisiana and Mississippi, but I'm specifically Texas and Oklahoma. So, mostly different stores definitely are vary in what they order by color and type and design, and there are stores out there that will only do reproduction fabrics, and then there are stores out there that only do modern, and that's obviously a very, very wide spectrum of options. But a lot of stores guess. I would say it's a magic crystal ball that I'll pantomime the magic crystal ball I don't have to help, because it's hard to say. I know, if a customer asks the store to buy this fabric, and sometimes that can backfire, because they'll have certain customers come in and say, hey, I really wish you would carry this, or I wish you would carry that. And then the store brings that in, and then the customer goes and buys it online, which there's nothing wrong with online versus your local quilt shop. I don't want to poo-poo either kind of business, because we support them all, obviously. But that is just kind of how sometimes stores will make decisions. I have some stores that if they don't like it, they won't order it. And I have some stores that will, like stuff they love, or buy stuff they love and buy stuff they hate, depending on their customer base. The way I kind of look at it is that every customer, like a quilt store or an online store, their customer bases are unique, and you get to know them as you go. And from there you kind of begin to understand preferences and things like that. Right now I'm told, and I have been told, that purple is the top selling color in the industry, which I'm fascinated by.
That's my favorite color.
Well,
I need to get more purple.
Right. It was mine as a kid. Now I have too many colors to have a favorite color, I think, that I love. But it's everybody does things a little differently. I know accountants that own stores that literally go by numbers only, and that's fascinating to me. And everyone is different, and some stores are successful in the same thing that another store isn't, and it's hard to even tell why, except for the demographic.
I was going to say it's got to be demographic and who your clientele is, honestly, because usually your clientele will follow the owner of the store and what they like, right? Mm-hmm. I say usually, like I have a lot of experience. I really don't, but common sense to me, I have run a business, a very successful business, $1 million business. So I do have some background in the business part, but you attract the kind of customers with the types of fabrics that you carry within your store. And I realize you have a variety, but there's that small group of people that consistently come into people's stores, into their quilt stores, and they know and understand the things that they like, and will make sure that they have a lot of that stuff. Now, I do know we live in Texas. Texas is a great state. It's a big state. And I know that in the quilting world, there's a lot of shop hops.
Well, just shops. I mean, you consider the massive number of shops, and they all will, sometimes there's a regional one, there's all state one. I mean, they're everywhere. Mm-hmm.
Some big, some small, just depending on the area. But they all have their own little community that certain things. So, you can go to this shop in this town and you're going to get this. You can go to this shop in this town and you're going to get that. The interesting thing about that I have found, and I don't know if I've noticed a lot more coming through the pipeline, is I'm not from Texas, but I've lived here for 20 plus years. But I like the Western, not the Southwest, the Western.
Cowboy boots and hats and spurs and
the yellow roses. I love yellow roses, So I have found that there's a lot more fabrics that are not cutesy per se or kiddie, that are more appropriate for adult enjoyment.
Yeah.
Was that a nice way to say that? But the point is, I'm noticing that, but just because I'm in Texas and I carry Texas stuff doesn't mean that people in Florida are going to like my stuff, because they're probably not.
Yeah.
They're flamingos. They're, the bright colors. They're the, I mean, every area of the United States has their thing.
Their regional, for sure. And it's pretty specific. And I know, definitely in my experience with the stores I've worked with, skiing is a wonderful example. So, we don't get a lot of snow in Texas. It doesn't usually, except for like polar vortexes right now, it doesn't usually get very cold. So you're not probably going to find a lot of like super, you have the Christmas stuff, but like most stores aren't in Texas, probably aren't going to buy the skiing collection. And the funny thing is that in the skiing industry, Texas is the top third state. Like 1, 2, 3 is Texas for the number of skiers that live in a state. So why wouldn't you want skiing fabric? Because if, a lot of people live here and love skiing, but because when you think of Texas, you don't think of skiing. When you
don't think cold.
No. When you think of Colorado, you think of mountains, you think of snow, you think of skiing. Florida, you think of the ocean, you think of Miami, you think of,
all the vibrant colors.
Yeah, like you've got this
the international flair,
this like aesthetic that exists within a region for no reason other than what it is, or what even maybe what people assume about it,
right?
Like skiing, for instance. So, and you just like there's in one of the companies, a sales manager lives in Colorado, and she jokes about how she loves that nobody in Texas buys flannels because it leaves everyone in Colorado that they can get flannels, and down to stuff like that. So it's pretty interesting just how things get divided out and who decides what, and probably in some sort of like high level chaos theory, natural design kind of thing, there's a rhyme and reason to it. I don't know enough at all to give you any
well, the other thing, so I'm going to switch topics right at this particular moment. The other thing that kind of popped in my head previously was like when we were talking about making the fabric and the planning and all that. I know that, I'm a little bit older, that fabric prices have really increased quite a bit. And I know that so many people don't understand why that is happening. And I get that, because it's just fabric, right? It's just, you just print on fabric. But the processes that it goes through to get to the store, the costs of getting it to that point are so much higher, and they take longer to produce. Am I correct on that?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about that, because there's so many different qualities of fabric,
Right.
And the quilting industry really focuses on the 100% cotton. But just because it's 100% cotton doesn't mean that it's the best cotton.
No.
So how do you tell the difference, if you can? I don't know that you can. I mean, besides feel.
Right. I was going to say it is hard. It's hard beyond physically touching it. Thread count is a great way. Probably would be the first other thing I would look at is it a, and I don't even know all of the thread count variations and what equals high level versus low level, unless we're talking about like sheets. Right. So 400 thread count sheets are supposed to be better than 200 thread count sheets, but those are all pretty tight weaves. So I would say that the softer and the smoother the cotton, probably the tighter the weave, the quality of the cotton, whether it's combed cotton. There's definitely a difference between combed cotton and cotton lawn and regular 100% cotton. Enough so that it's really wild if you think about it. If I don't know, Liberty Fabrics makes these incredible cotton lawns that feel literally, they're light. I mean, it's almost like you're working with a piece of rayon or a piece of silk, but you're not. It's 100% cotton. It's just been so finely processed that it costs a lot of money, especially in the US, but it does, because not only the high process, the incredibly beautiful way that the cotton comes out and is manufactured, and then it's when the mill spins it or takes the cotton and puts it in the thread, and then the thread becomes the fabric, and then there's the quality of the printing, the quality of the inks. Are the inks economically or what, not economically, but ecologically safe? You've got the Ecotex certification on some of them. That adds a cost to it. Developing different types of pigments that are equally vibrant and okay for the environment, that is a different factor. I'm sure, and I don't know, I should answer this question really before I answer this, but there are absolutely different varying grades of cotton itself. You've got organic cotton. I'm sure that a cotton that isn't necessarily processed as well, or isn't a high quality or an organic one, that's not going to feel as good as something that it is the opposite.
Right.
In addition to that, you're looking at the cost for your designers. You're looking at the cost of the company's employees that work there to go from every facet of the process. You're looking at shipping and logistics. You're looking at the mill. You're looking at simply just the communication between the mill and the company making the fabric to get the print right. I mean, you've got something called gray goods. You've got something called strike-offs, where you go through these different processes of approving the kind of fabric, and then approving the print, and then making sure that all the colors are exactly what you want. Sometimes that takes one tweak after another. I mean, that is all a part of the money that you go in and inevitably pay for when you're buying fabric from a local quilt shop. And there's nothing wrong with big box stores, but to me, the local quilt shop just is online and brick and mortar. You've got so much variety there. You've got the people that are working at the quilt store. You've got the effort that it takes for people to roll fabric from a roll to a bolt. I mean, there's
the inventory
so
itself
much.
is like what's so important to a business owner, right?
Uh-huh.
And knowing that they can take this inventory and turn it over quickly is really what the goal is. And so sometimes you're gonna see like huge sales, and it's because it didn't do well and they need to move it out to bring in something that's better in its place. And honestly, in I've been a brick and mortar, so I understand the you know all that goes into it, like you talked about, the employees, the rent, the you know eh, eh, the electricity, the alarm systems, the this, the that. I mean, there are so many operating expenses that most consumers don't understand what really is going on within a shop. And trying to balance that and make a profit
at
the same time can be very, very challenging. So I applaud those business owners who have small shops, because it's a work in art.
And they're still sane, and they still sit down with me and order fabric. Like, it's crazy sometimes that they do that consistently, even
it's a
as they struggle.
balancing act. It truly is a balancing act. And so, if you're frustrated because of pricing, they're not doing it to you. Okay. They're trying to keep their doors open and keep you supplied.
It's happening to them too.
Yeah. They're trying to keep you supplied with the things that you want. So I applaud small business owners. I was a small business owner, and juggling all of those things can be a very big challenge. And for the most part, most of those small businesses are usually a one owner type thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's hard doing all of it. Let's just say I did it for 16 years. I understand the pressures that they're under and the stresses that they're under. I just had a different product, but they all are basically the same. You still have to worry about people showing up. You still have to worry about payroll. You still have to worry about paying your light bill. You still have to pay your internet bill, all the things that go along with that. And then you've got all this new fabric coming in. Well, you've got to sell your old stuff to get your new stuff.
That's its own like process that they have to balance every month, every week, as some fabric comes in, some fabric sells or doesn't sell. Like, it's crazy kind of when you think about it. Like,
there's a lot of juggling out there. So they're not raising prices on you just because they want to raise prices. It's because they want to stay in business and continue to supply you. So I hope that some of you watching this may be the consumer watching it, and you give them a little bit of grace, because it's not easy keeping your doors open for the hours that you want them to be open. And it is very difficult to work against online. Okay. Yes, my store is open basically 24/7. But the point is, a brick and mortar only has so many hours, and it's not easy to juggle all of those in those short period of hours.
Yeah.
And sometimes they have to only be open Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Sometimes they have to do that. And I know that you as a sewer or quilter get frustrated with that, and then you go online. But I'm a proponent, even though I have an online business, I'm a proponent, go into these quilt shops, because they need you. They need your help, and they need your dollars, and they need your support. So that's my little tidbit for today.
Yeah. So what I tell, actually, so this again came from the automotive industry. So this didn't, for me, the idea didn't originate with fabric, but it's that the rising tide raises all boats. I encourage as many people as I can to, instead of thinking about competition, you think collaboratively. And when, like, and shop hops are a great example of that, because those stores are working together to give consumers an event that is fun and isn't just, like your everyday customer visiting your quilt shop. That's why they do the shop hops, because it makes it really, really fun. And when you see those stores together working all sort of towards a singular goal, is it's amazing. And that doesn't have to just be the shop hop.
Right.
And you know, it's about leveraging strengths, and it's about you know, there are so many ways to, I think, do it in a way that everybody benefits.
Yeah,
So
I agree.
it is, but it's a balance for sure.
Yeah,
that I get. And in a certain way, brick and mortars can do some things that onlines can't. I mean, that's really truly the community build. Yeah. That's, I think, something that is done uniquely different inside a store versus online. I know even online, there is a customer base. There's a community there. But every brick and mortar I walk into, they have their own regulars, and there are multiple stores where I'm getting to know the regulars. Sometimes a store owner can't afford to hire people, and if they need help, it's that community that will come in and literally, like, if the store owner is sick, they will work at the store for 4 hours or something, like, you know, just simply because they're there and they want to help. And I think that's incredible. It's really fun getting to know those stores and owners and people, and seeing the communities, and for a heartbeat that I'm in there trying to sell stuff, because that's literally, and that's like a hard thing for me, because I want to be a part of every community. Like, I want to come in and I don't want to sell. I just want to sit and sew too and have fun conversations.
It's a fun community. It's a fun community. It's peaceful. It's joyful. Usually everyone's smiling. They're happy because they love what they're doing. They love quilting, and they love seeing people's quilts. And, you know, that's why you have quilting shows, right? And, you know, it's a joy. It's definitely a joy for a lot of people.
And what I would even say is that, you know, the term within the term industry, the quilt industry is unique, and that there is so much about being happy and loving what you do, and being creative, and building that community, and everybody kind of coming together to do stuff that we've lost in a lot of different industries in our country. But you haven't with quilting, and it's incredible. And I say quilt, like, for a little while I refused. I was not a quilter. I love to make bags. I love to make things that hold things. That's what I tell everybody. And I just barely start. I've made a couple things now in the quilting world, and I can't say that I'm not a quilter anymore. And it's like crazy to me, because let's see, it's January of 2025. I started repping. I mean, I've grown up in February. I started repping like November 2021. I just don't think I ever, even 2 years ago, would have found myself saying that I like quilting. But I love it, like English paper piecing, and like foundation paper. But I love it all. Like just regular, like quilt piecing is, and there's so much about it is hard in a way that I never expected as somebody that loves to make little zipper pouches. And I don't know, it's just an incredible thing to be a part of.
It really is. It really is. I'm enjoying it a lot, let's just say, so much so that I wanted to start a podcast and talk about it and get more of this out there to maybe some of the new people who are thinking about quilting and are intimidated by it. Don't be. It's I'm a sewer at firsthand. I mean, I had to take it in high school. That's how old I am. But I grew up with it. Both my grandmothers and my mother were sewers. So I've sewed most of my life, most of my adult life, but I'm getting into something that's even more fun, and it's stretching my sewing muscle, as you can say. And now I've simply started with 3-yard quilts from Fabric Cafe.
They're wonderful.
And I love them so much. Fran and John and Donna, you guys are awesome, and you have a fabulous product. And I carry her books, her pattern books. So And actually, a lot of them sell out as soon as I get them in. It's amazing.
That's good, though. That's what they've done for the industry. I think is really, really, really cool.
They've got their own little niche, and I encourage you, if you're new, it's the best way to start, because that's how I started.
And to be like, I like to. So I'm a huge fan of small businesses that have incredible people, and I'm lucky enough to say that I've gotten to work with a lot of the, not so much Donna and Fran. They're kind of the head honchos that make the decisions, but it's kind of everyone in the background, and every single one of those ladies are incredibly fun, wonderful people. And when you buy the book, you're supporting every single one of them too, which is sort of nice to think about. In the whole concept of the quilt industry, like Cosmos or whatever.
Well, we are nearing the end here. So are there any last tidbits you want to share with people? Because I'm definitely coming to have Sarah back on, because we can't cover everything in an hour, and we're just about at that hour mark. So
we can't, and I could talk for like so much more, and y'all would get so bored.
Yeah, well, I can too. But so tell us, how should we end this on a great note?
I'm not ready to end it. Okay, so that means I have to come back. So there are other things I want to talk about, like using rayon and cotton lawn as a quilt back.
Oh.
Did you know that they make 108-inch rayons?
No.
I didn't either. I found out.
Ooh, okay.
And making your own clothes again. Because I hate, and I could talk for way longer than I should about this, but like going to Target, now having a hard time affording to buy whatever a sweater is that I'm going to get, and is going to be either falling apart or pilling within a couple of washings.
Yeah.
Like, it makes me angry.
Yeah.
And I have now made my very first pair of pants.
Good for you.
And I made a super cute little, very basic little V-neck top. And it is addictive knowing that I can make something that fits me, that's cute, that's in the color I want, in the fabric I want, in the print I want. Like, it's all under my complete control, and I'm gonna wash it, and it is not gonna fall apart.
You heard it here first.
I mean, we can talk about that later, but that is another huge trend coming. You're going to start seeing more and more shops carrying garment fabrics, which is pretty exciting.
That is exciting. That's really exciting. That's really the world I grew up in.
Yeah.
Right? Honestly, well, at least my grandmother's and my mother's. So, and we did discuss this, and I don't know if we discussed this on camera, but everything, and I mean everything, was handmade, sewn. So
there's something to say for that, especially now when it's the peak of what they call fast fashion, and literally buying things you can throw away. Why you would want to do that? I don't like it.
We live in too much of a disposable society as it is. I would love to show people how to get things that are going to last, that are classics, that will never go out of style, but that you did it yourself with your own two little hands. And
I did it without a serger. I don't have a serger. I want one desperately. It's a goal down the road when I can afford it, but I did it even without a serger, which I think is kind of cool too, because you're not, there aren't necessarily as many constraints as you think that there are.
Right. That's so awesome. Well, I want to thank you guys for watching and listening. And Sarah, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
I mean,
I had fun.
We talked about a lot of stuff, and would love to hear your comments and tell us what you think about the new podcast.
Questions for your resident fabric rep.
Yep. And
resident, I already moved in.
Yeah, you did. And I will absolutely follow up with all those questions from Sarah, or with Sarah. And I post them, put them out there. Let us know what you're looking for, what you're needing, what you're wanting.
What makes you mad?
Yeah. No. This is a joyful podcast.
What makes you happy?
Yeah. So thank you so much, everyone, for being here today. Thank you, Sarah, for being here today. And I'm definitely going to have her back, because I think we just barely scratched the surface on things that really could help you, or you could learn, or tell me what else you want to hear on a podcast. What are you lacking that you haven't been able to learn yet, or you want to know about? I would love to hear your comments too about what I should do in the future. I'm going to be having several different reps that I have, and I'm also looking for store owners that want to come on and talk about quilting and
You should
sewing
interview
and fabric.
designers. You should interview like some corporate people from the different fabric companies.
Yep.
Even. Like
Yep.
there's a lot out
Yeah.
there to explore.
So I'm going to be sending out emails and trying to connect with these people and bring them on, whether it be in person here together, or they'll be there and I'll be here. One way or another, that's 2025 plan to get podcasts out, and my goal is one a week.
That's a lot. That's so what I've heard is that it's like an hour of editing for 10 minutes of audio.
Mm-hmm.
So you've got your hands full.
I have edited a lot of videos in the last couple of years. So most of the time, most of it doesn't need to be edited. Very little of it,
I've never done it before. It just sounds hard.
I thought it was hard too, but it's not.
Oh, good.
And so you're going to hear a lot of and ums from me, but that's okay. I'm not going to edit those out. This is who I am. And thank you again from the bottom of my heart. Thank you again.
Yeah, thanks, Chris. Thanks, you guys, for sticking it out.
We will see you next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you never miss a new podcast. There's always something new to learn. See you next time.